Now, Palestinian and Israeli leaders were appealed for support at a UN Security Council session Sunday, but little action was in sight despite soaring violence. Opening the virtual session, Secretary General Antonio Guterres called the violence utterly appalling and urged both Palestinian militants, Hamas, to stop firing rockets into Israel and the Jewish state to stop its massive air campaign on the Gaza Strip. Take a look.
The current hostilities are utterly appalling. This latest round of violence only perpetuates the cycles of death, destruction, and despair, and pushes farther to the horizon any hopes of coexistence and peace. Fighting must stop.
Israel keeps telling you, put yourself in our shoes. This is what they say all the time. Put yourself in our shoes. But Israel is not wearing shoes. It is wearing military boots. It is an occupying and a colonial power. Any assessment of the situation that fails to take into account this fundamental fact is biased.
Israel has no choice but to stop these Hamas attacks wherever they are being launched, and it is Hamas who should be held accountable for the consequences. Hamas targets civilians. Israel targets terrorists. Israel makes every effort to avoid civilian casualties. Hamas makes every effort to increase civilian casualties.
The United States has made clear that we are prepared to lend our support and good offices should the parties seek a ceasefire. Because we believe Israelis and Palestinians equally have a right to live in safety and security.
We strongly condemn these acts of terrorism from Hamas and other terrorist groups who must permanently end their incitement and rocket fire against Israel and Israeli civilians. Israel has a legitimate right to self-defense and the right to defend its citizens from attack. In doing so, it is vital that Israel makes every effort to avoid civilian casualties.
China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi called on the U.S. to adjust its position on Israel-Palestine tensions. He said because of the obstruction of the U.S., the Security Council has not been able to speak with one voice on Palestine. Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Vershinin took to the floor, highlighting the necessity of immediately ending the confrontation. He also said Russia considers the attempt to change the geographical, demographic, and historical character and status of East Jerusalem to be null and void. At least 58 children have died in Gaza, according to the authorities. More than 1,200 people have been wounded, and entire buildings and city blocks reduced to rubble.